Okay, and we are going to pivot to workforce for the rest of the morning. Thursdays are our labor and workforce days. We have sort of tried to divide our time so that we can effectively plan into the future. So we are live. Welcome back to Senate Economic Development, Housing and General Affairs. We're pivoting back to workforce on our Thursdays, which are devoted to labor and workforce issues and anything that and one program that we would love an update on and that we are very proud of. Actually, it began really in the Senate, the early support, right, Brett?
Yeah.
It was originally with Tim Ash and in the Senate of our Serve, Learn, Earn program. And we are looking forward to an update and to review their ask for this year. This is one of our important workforce partners with a particular population. So welcome, Kate. And have you met all our new members?
We'd love to do introductions if that's possible.
Yes. Okay, great.
Committee Gold Star member. Tom Chittenden. I represent the southeast quadrants of Chittenden County along with my seatmate, Keisha Rom Hinsdale, who's not here right now.
She's reporting some of our bills in the House. So we are dividing and conquering today. I'm Allison Clarkson. I represent the Windsor County District.
I'm Randy Brock. I represent Franklin County and Northern Grand Isle County.
Good morning, Dave Weeks, representing Rutland County.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Well,
Do you want to introduce your team? Introduce
can.
yourself.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Kate Gluckman, I am the director of Serve Learner.
I'm Brett Knopf. I'm with Vermont Youth Conservation Coalition.
I'm Ronnie Basden. I'm with Vermont Works for Women. Good to see you.
I'm Kim Gerton, and I'm the Center Director for Audubon, Vermont.
And Tom Longstreth, Executive Director of Resource.
Right? And you're who might you be?
I am Rebecca Ramos, the lucky person that gets to work with this group.
We're so honored to be here today. So thank you so much for this time. I'm going to give you an overview of our programs and some of our impact, and then each of my colleagues will come up to talk specifically about their programs. And so we're happy to take questions at any time, but just know that some of you, we might all chime in on them. So like you mentioned, Senator Clarkson, we were here 4 years ago. And actually, this was the first committee that we ever brought the idea of Serve, Learn, Earn to. And so it feels really, really good to be back today. First of all, to say thank you for your support in the past, and then also to update you on what we've been doing in the last year and for the last 3.5 years. So since 2021, Serve, Learn, Earn has been on a mission to create high quality paid training and service opportunities across the state. Working together, our partners take a network approach to serving Vermonters and the communities in which we live. Approaching workforce development as a system rather than a single program or organization has allowed us to develop deeper opportunities for training, stack opportunities for participants as they grow in their careers, develop new programs in our rural communities, and build bridges between our educational and our workforce development institutions. Sustained funding has really provided the launch pad for us to have continued and strategic growth across the last 4 years. So you can see our partners here, obviously behind me. We also have some partners that are really important to this work that are not in the room today. So our funding is administered through Forest Parks and Recreation. They are a tremendous partner in helping us provide service opportunities to engage young people. And obviously we are aligned in their work as well in terms of the parts that are across the state. AmeriCorps Serve Vermont is a really important partner as well. We'll talk more about them. And then we have been able to partner with the Northwood Stewardship Center up in the NEK with their really important conservation Corps work as well. And that they aren't a partner of Serve, Learn, Earn, but they have been project partners of ours, and we want to highlight them. Serve, Learn, Earn provides a continuum of programming serving Vermonters ages 14 years through adults. So that I want you to remember the diverse spectrum of people that we're serving. With career exploration, early professional training, and sector-specific workforce development programs, Serve Learn Earn can serve Vermonters at every stage of their career development. Often our participants come from marginalized communities, and through our paid cohort-based training and service programs, they build technical skills, they build leadership development and transferable skills, those soft skills that we know are so important. They complete service projects that build community, and we connect them to high quality employment. So if you want to think of Serve Learn Earn in sort of the landscape of workforce development, we fill in a lot of the gaps between our K-12 systems, our CTE centers, our higher ed institutions. We work with the Vermont Department of Labor, Higher Ability, and many other training organizations, all working in to strengthen Vermont's workforce. I had the opportunity last Thursday to be here for Tom Cheney and Carolyn Weir's presentation. And I remember that slide that Tom showed about sort of the gap between those who graduate our high schools and those who enroll in our colleges. And so if you think of those young people as not going on to a college path, but needing additional training after high school, many of our programs are there to serve them. And you'll hear about a lot of those.
And Commanders Plus State, you also are addressing, and I think referred to from counselors at school, kids who were beginning to lose earlier than that. So 9th and 10th graders, when you say you started 14, that's sort of 9th grade.
Yeah.
So you're also beginning to catch in your net kids who may be looking already.
Thank you for saying that. I'm going to share about our Youth Build program that does exactly that. That resource runs 2 sites across the state.
And that also aligns with our efforts to try and get CTE begun at an earlier stage so that we get kids excited and jazzed about work,
Yes.
really able to tap into their dreams earlier so that we have fewer dropouts who are
Yes.
one of our biggest drags on our
Absolutely. And not only dropouts, but students who are successful in the classroom, but have an experience over the summer that may change their trajectory. And we can get them into the trades and conservation. Absolutely.
And I'd like to just tying things together. Yesterday, we heard the challenges in our forest products industry. Tying this to these programs, the future of our forest products industry in many ways hinges on our workforce, and this is a piece of that.
Yes. Maybe Brett can speak about the expansion of the forestry program.
So just tying all our work
Yeah,
together.
thank you. So you can see here the continuum of programming. We have 14 programs across these 3 buckets. And while they all are very different, they serve different people, they have a different program design and different intended outcomes. There's 3 things that remain true across them all, which is why they're part of Serve Learn Earn. And you know, we're not creative. And so if you just read our name, these are the 3 things. Service. Every program has an element of service, and we see service as a vehicle for technical and transferable skill training. We see it as a relationship builder, and we see it as that personal development space that allows people to build agency, to build communication skills, problem solving, and to build a sense of self within their community, which we know a lot of our young people, who, if they're disconnected from school, if they're disconnected from work, they often are in a space of isolation, and many with mental health issues. So we think service can do all of those things. The second, learning, right? We are offering workforce applicable training, technical skills, industry recognized credentials. These are skills that people can bring to an employer that are valued. And lastly, earn, right? All of our programs are paid. So that's either through wages, hourly wages, or through a stipend. That means that it is super accessible to any Vermonter who wants to get involved. So just to, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to highlight one program from each of these buckets so that you have a good sense of what these programs are like.
So Kate, before you dive into those, give us 2 sort of, as we're looking at the big picture, how many young people or
600 a year.
6? Thank you.
Mhm.
All programs, all programs.
Across all programs. Yep. And that's growing. So we started around 450 and now we're at 6. We're anticipating further growth with continued public.
Okay, so
funding.
while we're on the big picture,
Yeah.
give us a notion of your budget. What's your total budget?
Yes, you're skipping ahead my slide.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But that's fine. No,
We
Our total
No,
budget.
start
No,
big and then-
thank you. Thank you so much. Our total budget across all of our programs is about $10.5 million. Our annual public allocation has been right around 2 million. That's what we're sitting at this year. So that really means that our partners were leveraging about $8.5 million of other revenue sources, much of which comes from private philanthropy, federal funding, which we can talk about more too. But that public funding, I can tell you, has been a game changer in which private philanthropy wants to get involved. So in this past year, we've been able to secure $1.8 million 3-year grant from Ascendium Foundation. We're the first Vermont grantee from Ascendium. And what they love is that we are part of the strategy of the state legislature. And so your support, your public funding enables us to leverage and really provides authentication of our programs to outside workers.
Great, thanks. Any other big picture, as we look at all these things, just that you think we ought
You
to?
keep asking these questions and we're going to circle back and you'll see some more. Yeah.
So we're gonna dive into one program.
We're going to
So
dive into
illustrate.
3 really quick programs so that you get a sense, but please just ask me about all these questions are welcome. Career exploration, right? Targeting our high school teenagers. These are opportunities for students to be exposed to careers, right? We focus in trades, conservation, agriculture. In these programs, we are connecting them to local professionals, local companies in the field. We're developing, those professional aptitudes that is so critical for people to be successful in careers, regardless of where they go. We're building those technical skills, just, introducing them to those technical skills. Excitingly, because of the flexible pathways legislation, we are now offering high school credit for some of these programs during the summer. And so we're working, one of the challenges about flexible pathways is that every school does them differently. So we're working with many of our sender schools to figure out how best to do that, offering for the first year of this summer, that opportunity. I put in the corner, right, Carolyn Weir and McClure Foundation created that Vermont's most promising jobs report. I just want you to see the jobs that are listed on there that connect with our program so that you know that we are training folks from the very beginning for jobs.
Where do we see? Oh, down on the bottom.
Yep, down in
Right,
the
right.
corner. Yep,
Yeah.
for jobs that Vermont needs.
Yes, you were right here with the McClure Foundation.
The second bucket of programming, right? We're now talking about young adults here, and early professional experiences really is that like first job. And what we're trying to create for them is this opportunity for a really high quality supportive first job experience. Many of these programs are through the AmeriCorps program, and Brett is going to talk more about that program. But again, we're connecting them to local professionals and employers. We're building those personal skills. They're earning industry recognized credentials, mentorship. Many of the AmeriCorps people are going on to earn the Siegel Education Award, and some earn college credit for their participation.
And some stay in Vermont.
As many as we can get. Absolutely. Yep.
Because they aren't all, those AmeriCorps kids are not all Vermont kids.
No, actually, the majority of them are not. Yep. And so AmeriCorps is a great way to bring young people to the state. The picture, though, that I have here is actually of the Youth Build program. And I want to touch upon this because this is the program you were mentioning. Resource runs 2 sites of Youth Build. And this is a program for current high school students who are struggling in a traditional classroom setting. They come to Resource for the full day, the full week. Half their time is spent on academics and earning their high school credential through their sending school. The other half is learning the construction trades. These programs are located in Burlington and Barrie. And for the last 2 years, they have spent their service time, their learning of the construction trades, doing flood recovery. So not only was the Barrie facility of Youth Build impacted, totally ruined in the 2023 floods, but they also were on the ground, mucking out, rebuilding homes last summer as well too after that round of flooding. So just a super impactful program that allows students to avoid dropping out, get their high school credential, earn these industry recognized credentials, make money because they get paid for their service, and then get employed at the end of this program. So a real successful implementation of service learning in high school for students who are at risk. The last bucket is our workforce development bucket. These are the programs that are targeted towards adults disconnected from work. We're looking to place folks into employment directly after these programs. So we're connecting them to ready to hire employers. We're building industry recognized credentials, and we have a very high touch transitional support and long-term career support for these folks. We want them to be successful. So that means that we're reviewing resumes, we're practice interviewing skills. We are, helping them get all their ducks in a row to be ready to be employed. This is also the area where we have seen the most growth in our programs over the last couple of years. So Vermont Works for Women and Resource have launched new programs, or will be launching new programs this year. New types of training, advanced manufacturing, heavy equipment, more advanced weatherization training. This year, and the picture you see here, Vermont Youth Conservation Corps is launching a new timber framing pre-apprenticeship, which is 17 weeks where folks are going to be working with a professional timber framer and learning all of the skills that are aligned with the first year of the Timber Framing Guild's national apprenticeship, so that they can go into employment or go into an apprenticeship having an advanced standing. This is a paid program. We're connecting with all timber framers across the state. And you might think, this is a pretty niche program, but what we're seeing is a real interest from youth in this craft, in this sort of historic trade, but also really neat development in the field in terms of sustainable housing building and actually affordable housing as well. So, and if you think too about all of the issues of tariffs and all this stuff, and the forest industry, we're really talking about all of the building materials coming from Vermont, as well as the labor to build timber frame homes. So a real exciting opportunity.
So maybe we could deploy some of them on reopening some of our sawmills,
I love that.
which we are desperately in need of.
Yeah.
So that you're touching base with the 15 million we put aside for construction trade development over X number of years. We're hearing about that next and getting an
like
update
to
on
sit in on that as well too, because currently Senator Clarkson, we cannot access those funds because we are not a CTE. However, if there's a little bit of a loosening of the definition, then I think that we could really utilize that, and we are doing the things that you want to do with those funds in terms of getting young people learning the construction trade and building affordable housing.
And that is why you are the ED of this program, because you see that moment in everything.
I want to just read this quote for you. I know you can also read, but now more than ever, Vermont businesses need young, motivated, qualified, and reliable employees who can come to work ready to learn and be part of a high-functioning team. The YCC has proven its capability in contributing to the solution and is poised to do more. Time is of the essence in our workforce and economy, and that's from the CEO of Negley and Chase Construction. I share that with you, one, to boost Breck's feelings, but also because I could put any of our partners into that sentence, and I could put any of our employer partners in there, and the sentiment would be the same.
But you chose Brett.
But I
Primary.
Because she knew we'd be in the world.
Let's say. And speaking of our employer partners, right, we work with over 300 employer partners across the state. Here are just a few of them who are providing work-based learning experiences. They are mentoring our participants, and they are hiring.
So before you leave that, and as we look at the biggest growth piece of your program, how, and you're targeting adults, what's your partnership with adult education?
Yeah. So we work with them in a couple of ways. So they might refer participant to us, and then we'd enroll them in our training. But also Vermont Adult Learning has a program called Energy Works. And Energy
Yes, it
Works
does.
train,
Did
yep,
some of their trainings.
yep, trains them in heat pump and weatherization
Yeah.
training.
With guaranteed jobs.
Yes, and paid too.
Yeah.
So both our partners at Vermont Works for Women and Resource have tapped that training onto their trades construction training to provide our participants additional and deeper training. We are also very excited because Vermont Adult Learning is building out English as a second language support specifically for construction training programs. And so once they have that launch, we're excited to partner with them to support English language learners in our programs. We already actually do that already. Actually, just a training with Resource in heavy equipment had a deaf participant, and Vermont Adult Learning had, or no, I'm sorry, that was Higher Ability, Tom, wasn't it? Higher Ability supported them in that. So we're working with those Vermont Adult Learning or Higher Ability with many participants.
Right.
So some overall outcomes since our first year, over 1,400 participants, over 500 credentials of value. So remember Tom Cheney talking about credentials. We'd like to take responsibility for some of that growth. $3.25 million is wages and stipends. So we've made a commitment to use our public funds to go directly back into to our participants' pockets, and over 500 AmeriCorps members enrolled. Just last year, 615 participants, 70% of these are under the age of 24. So really focusing on that youth and young adult. 25 earned college credits, 246 industry recognized credentials.
So, any questions thus far? So why do I vote questions? So anyway, and I'm just curious, why do we only have 271 credentials or college credit as opposed to 615 participants?
Mostly because our high school programs don't offer credentials of value, right? They're just gaining exposure.
So they're,
to
but they are getting some high school credit.
Some are getting high school credit, yes, or have the
So that-
opportunity to. Oh, that's just starting this summer. We haven't done that before. Yep.
Can I jump in with
Yeah,
another?
Correct, just identify yourself.
Breck Knopf with Vermont Youth Conservation Corps. Another thing that makes the high school credit tricky is because there's not a centralized accrediting body, you have to work individually with each school. It makes the process of awarding credit for a high school student far less efficient. But if there was a way to work directly with the Agency of Education and say, here's the curriculum we offer, to the Agency of Education provide credit as opposed to Mount A and Mount Mansfield and Stowe.
So this is something I would charge you to work with Sabina Haskell, who's our new
Yes.
executive director of
Great.
the Office of Workforce Expansion and Development. So workforce strategy and development. I'd encourage, that's a good way to put you guys to work together.
Perfect. We'd love to. And we've met with her already too. Yeah.
Great.
So I just, I'm going to wrap up in the next couple of slides, but I just want to show you the growth that we've had in the last 3 years. This darkest blue line is our current year that we're in. So those are targets, but the sustained public funding has really enabled us to continue to serve more people, to offer more weeks of the training that we have, and to have the impact of a lot more credentials of value earned. Touching briefly, right, the service impact of our programs is across the state. So you can see here all of the different projects that we've done. We did over 180 projects, 24 homes rebuilt after flooding, 3,000 children served in education programs, 8 accessible housing projects completed, 14 miles of trails repaired, 591 families receiving weekly local organic vegetables in part of our food shares, just to name a few. So
You get us those statistics.
I can share those
Yeah,
with you.
because that's
Yep.
not on.
It's not on here, no. So just to understand, an investment in Serve Learner is an investment in workforce development. It's also an investment in the project outcomes that our participants are completing. Our ask. So just to circle back, these are the numbers I shared with you. Our total budget is about $10.4 million. Our public funding has been right around 2 million, and 2 million is where we're at today. It's been low as 1.8, high as 2.3. So about 8.4 million is what we're leveraging to complete and to fund our projects. So this year that we're working in, or last year, FY25, we received $2 million. 500,000 of that is in the base budget. This year, FY26, in the governor's recommend, we just got 500,000 in the base. In the House recommended budget, they sustain that 500,000, but nothing additional. And so what we're asking from the Senate is to increase our base budget funding to 1 million, including a 1 million one-time allocation for a total of $2 million.
No, it looked like it's a tune of 2.5. If we add $1 million to base funding, that you
Just
already have
500.
500,000.
Just adding a total of 1 million.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Got it, sorry.
So just
But
adding.
if you wanted to, more than that.
We are going to see what sugars out after this tariff disaster and the rest of the federal challenges we're facing. Yes, as you know, all our money got stripped out of all our bills, as you know.
In the presentation that I shared with you, I think that it said 500,000 in one-time allocations, and I just want to correct
does.
that error.
So you're really asking for another $1 million.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Any questions?
Yeah, David.
Again, so this is a new concept,
Yeah.
new guy on the committee, so curious. Why the emphasis on earning? Why not, given the nature of the value of training to the individual receiving training? Help
Hey,
me.
you want me to?
Yeah,
Jump in, Tom, yeah.
Do I-
you can introduce yourself.
Tom Longstreth, Executive Director of Resource. I mean, I speaking mostly for Resource, many of our trainees are low, moderate income. Some, are supporting families. They couldn't afford to invest in their own skill training if they weren't getting some sort of stipend. It's not a lot of money, but it's something, so it gives them a chance for our intensive programs that I'll tell you more about for adults, gives them 6 weeks of revenue during the 6-week training program, which they're able to sort of get the basic skills necessary to go and get placed with employers. And employers are desperate, but they're not willing to hire most of the trainees we work with who have serious barriers to employment without sort of that basic training. And when we tell them, yep, they graduated, they've received these OSHA training, they've received this other industry recognized skill certification, and we recommend them, those employers are hiring them. But it's critical for us to be able to offer that stipend so these trainees can sort of sometimes they're leaving a dead-end job that's not going anywhere, that other times they don't have a job, but offering a stipend is a way that we incentivize, we get them sort of motivated to succeed. So I think it's a way to motivate and incentivize.
And I'll say real quick, I'm Ronnie Basden from Outworks for Women. For a lot of our participants, it goes towards childcare or transportation costs to participate in the training. So it's a stipend that they get to participate in the training, not
Even after
necessarily an hourly
the
wage.
childcare benefits.
Yeah, so a lot of this, because our trainings are on nights and weekends when most childcare centers aren't open. So often our stipends are paying for babysitters or care, so that way they can participate. Our programs are 7 weeks, so they're short term. So it's not that they need long-term childcare solutions, but then this gives them the training and the certification to be job ready on day one. And then have the earning potential for that.
The
It's
transportation
not-
is huge. The transportation challenges are huge. We have trainees who sometimes are traveling 40 miles every day to get to the training site because we offer trainings all around the state. But at the particular timing, we might offer one in Rutland, but folks are coming up from Bennington. And so they need to spend money on gas, car repairs, and the like.
And then.
Yeah.
The length of the training, sounds like it varies per program, but.
Yeah.
What's the average length or something?
That's a good question. I don't know the average length, but the shortest program is 1 week in the summer in our career exploration. We go as long as 11 months in an AmeriCorps term. But the adult programming is between 6 and 7 weeks, most of it. Yeah.
So I did note that the average training is, given the total budget ask, it's sort of budget share, it's like 17,000 per participant. Just take the pure number divided by the number of participants. That's a little heavy. Is that because you're trying, is that showing the growth of the program that, you want that 17,000? It's not really,
Wait, 7 per participant?
600.
Well, that's including any like instructor costs, program costs,
Yep,
facility
including all
costs.
the-
That's a full total program cost of everything. So if you shake it out to a participant cost, it would look that high. I would say the majority of it, instructor costs are high these days for these training programs, the certification programs. The lowest cost is the stipends to participants. So the highest is really administering the training program. And then it depends on the facilities we can run within, which tend to be training centers, maker spaces, such as in Rutland.
Right.
And where you can find that.
okay.
Just in terms of time, we were gonna all testify, but I'm wondering,
Yeah, I think we have time because this will blend into the CTE work and you'll be here for it. And why don't we go for everybody until Sarah arrives?
thank you.
And we have a group of people. We've Gus, Sarah, Zach, and we have a whole group.
Okay,
So Habitat, I mean.
so we'll
all
just
meld
try
together.
and be speedy.
But let's try and be done as close to 11 as possible, but if we go to 11:05, it's not gonna kill us.
Yeah, we'll just try and be as speedy as.
Yeah, exactly.
Every other work.
So good morning again. My name's Kim Gurdon. I am the Center Director at the Green Mountain Audubon Center, which is in Huntington. I've worked for Audubon for many years and care very deeply about Audubon's mission, which you may know, we are the bird people, right? So we work to protect birds and the places they need today and tomorrow. So one way that we work toward accomplishing that mission is to make sure that we are building a strong conservation workforce that will work to protect those places for birds. And I'll add people into that as well, so that they can thrive well into the future. So that's why we're a part of the Serve, Learn, Earn Coalition. Before Serve, Learn, Earn, I think it's important that all of you know that Audubon Vermont was only able to hire at that time 4 seasonal educators that we paid minimum wage. And we had 1 AmeriCorps member that we were able to host each year. We had interns as well in a very strong program, but all of those internships were unpaid, which, to speak to your point, they were unpaid, which meant that even though it was a strong program, it was really only available to people who could afford to take an internship with Audubon. So the generous Serve, Learn, Earn funding that we, have been able to get through the legislature now, we are offering 40 teens and young adults paid workforce development training and 3 AmeriCorps positions through Vermont Housing and Conservation Board every year. So for us at Audubon, I mean, this really has been transformational in the number of people that we are able to reach and train each year. Most of Audubon's Serve, Learn, Earn participants are teens and young adults. So if you look back at the slide here, they fall into the career exploration part of the program or phase of the program. And for many of the teams that we work with in our programs, it is their very first job experience when they come to Audubon. And so today, I'm just going to highlight one of our 5 programs, which is our Junior Conservation Tech program. We call it the JCT program. So teens are
it's junior
conservation techs. And this is a program that the teens, again, are 14 to 18 years old, so they're in high school.
And how much do you partner with VINs?
Well, we occasionally partner with VINs on other projects, not specifically
Not
on the
with these?
Junior Conservation Program.
That's a great way to take care of birds.
It definitely
helping
is.
in-
It definitely is.
On our vet front too.
Sure. In terms of like education programs, we have hired vets actually many times to come with live birds for different presentations that we do.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the teens in our junior conservation tech program, it's set up so that they're basically getting a snapshot of all different types of conservation work that they could do. So they complete meaningful conservation and trail maintenance projects. They learn how to work with hand tools on small scale construction projects. So for example, building common tern chick shelters is something that they do each year. Also footbridges, punch-ins for hiking trails, smaller projects like that. They also learn skills in forestry, habitat assessment, habitat restoration work, and of course, bird monitoring. Our JCTs work during times out of school. Kate was talking about summer programs, but this program is actually designed to start in January. It runs through June, and they work on their vacations during their school breaks, on weekends, and then when their summer break starts, they work for the first 2 weeks of summer break as well. And since you were asking earlier about times, this JCT program is 150 hours of work for these high school students. They work in the field with our professional conservation biologists, licensed foresters, ornithologists, and our education team. Example of some of the work that they do and get experience with, they identify and remove invasive plant species. They learn to conduct bird-friendly maple sugar bush assessments. They're going to be marking trees actually in our sugar bush coming up for crop tree release, so a type of management that we're doing there. They also have an opportunity to help monitor bobolinks and peregrine falcons each summer. And a unique experience, I think, to Audubon is that they also get to band birds alongside a master bird bander for a morning in June.
Oh, cool.
It is very cool. Last summer, JCTs worked to repair trails at the Audubon Center that were heavily damaged during flooding. We've had multiple flooding events there. This year, our cohort will be planting native plants in riparian areas. So they're seeing this flood recovery work, and it's helping them to build confidence, and they're really having a sense of accomplishment and seeing the impact that they can have in their community. And all of these projects are benefiting our community. The Audubon Center is free. It's open to the public. Thousands of people hike our trails there. So since the JCT program was established in 2022, we've engaged 46 teens from 13 different high schools, many of them within your district, especially. They come from within 45-minute drive to the Audubon Center in Huntington. Usually we've had them as far away as the Virgins High School. And also the Essex Technical Center, throw that in there as well. Another thing I'd like to just share is that these teen programs, like Kate said, are feeders into the other SLE programs, right? So we're building that continuum and want to make sure that we have really clear pathways for these students. So once they get super jazzed about conservation, we're seeing them go on and, for example, join crews at the VYCC and vice versa. Great. So you know what? Here's the very last thing that I will say is I'm going to leave you with a quote, which is from a JCT who just completed the program last year. My time at Audubon has truly introduced me to a whole new world. I spent a lot of time outdoors before, but wasn't sure how I could possibly make a career that I loved out of it. Audubon was able to not only give me hands-on learning opportunities, but options for the future that I'm not sure I would have found on my own. Really appreciate the time.
Kim, wonderful. If you make sure you send your testimony also to Heidi.
I will absolutely do that. You can see the rest. Thank you.
Who's up next?
I'm up next.
Greg, right. And we have Sarah Phillips here, who's it's all kind of a piece together, all this work. And Sarah, I said we could,
Of course.
that we might go till 5:05, 11:05 or so.
These are colleagues.
Yeah, I know.
So Brett Knopf from Huntington, with the Vermont Conservation Corps. I would echo Kate's note that our serve, learn, earn journey began here. This feels a little bit like a homecoming. Missing chair slot in a bit, but it's great to have you.
His protege and vice chair.
Yes.
Happily now here.
Yes. So anyway, it's nice to see all of you again and to meet some of you who are new to the committee. I'll be quick. What I'd love to do is just at a high level, share a few things about VYCC and then actually tell a story that I think speaks to the importance of paid service experiences. At VYCC, offers paid service and training experiences for young adults who want to complete public service projects. It's at once a job as much as it is this immense and immersive learning, somewhat intense learning experience. Our core members are high school students, for college age participants, they're young adults in their early 20s. We offer residential crews as well as day crews. Roughly 180 core members, we call them, every year participate in our crews, ranging from 1 week experiences to 9 months, 11-month experiences. The average stint is a 10-week experience with VYCC. Projects range from outdoor recreation infrastructure on public lands to water quality work, stream bank restoration,
Running on trail,
miles of trail.
bridge building. We partnered with BYCC crews at the national park and I was chair of our Parks Commission for many years. So for the Woodstock is very grateful for crews from BYCC, which have been terrific.
It's been awesome.
Yeah.
I'm at our partnership with National Park Service is over 2 decades.
I know.
And it's going strong.
Rolf and Christina,
Yeah.
really great.
One relatively new initiative is our forestry initiative. So that began about 4 years ago. We started with just 6 crew weeks. This summer we'll have over 36 crew weeks, a broad array of partners, both national, state, private. I think it's an example of the way in which our model can be really flexible and we can be innovative and nimble in responding to economic needs. There's clearly a graying workforce in the forestry sector. So our crews do things like remove hazardous trees in state parks. They do timber stand improvement. They pull invasive species. We've just secured a 3-year grant with the Northern Border Regional Commission that's going to allow us to expand to the Northeast Kingdom, do some heavy equipment training. And so it's an example how not just BYCC, but Serve, Learn, Earn across the collaboration is looking at what sectors of the economy need a growing workforce. How can we create a program that can be responsive to that builds upon this model of paid service, learning, training experiences. So a quick story. And Kate, could you show the slide that has the timber frame?
Yeah,
Going
sure
up there?
can.
That would be great. So this summer we're piloting a pre-apprenticeship in timber framing, as Kate mentioned. It's not just aligned with industry needs. It's actually being led by Elliot Lothrop, who runs his own timber framing company. So we're partnering directly with a private company to lead this initiative. And one prospective applicant was interested in this, Emma. And Emma came to campus one day last year and was really excited about it. Emma, from Milton, had a job that they weren't really excited about. It was a bit of a dead end job, and had always done carpentry projects with their dad, was thinking about this, but didn't have access to any kind of training program. And so Emma came and they met a crew. They saw the tractor barn that we were building last summer that's there. And I could see that Emma was both excited about the opportunity, but also there was something where they had a lot of reservation, hesitation. And finally, they asked the question, well, how much will this training cost me? And I said, no, we'll put the script here. You get a stipend. And I could just see the body language change, big exhale, eyes lit up, because suddenly something that wasn't possible became accessible. And so Emma's now applied, and they're going to be one of the members on this pilot group. So it speaks to, it's just one data point, but it speaks to the importance of making these experiences accessible. So quick other details that I think if we pull on this thread of the story that are worth highlighting, we're focused on providing as much value to our participants as possible. Part of that comes through financial compensation, but there's other ways that we can include value. For example, AmeriCorps members get Siegel Education Awards. Those are awards that are prorated based on the length of service that our participants can use for education expenses, pay off debt, purchase.
So it's a cash award.
It's a cash award that's essentially put into account that they can use for education expenses. It's a simple way of explaining it. We also try to incorporate an array of credentials. So not just OSHA 10, but chainsaw certifications, wilderness first aid. There's a whole array across the collaboration here. Academic credit, all the BYCC crew leaders get 12 credits through CCV. This year, we're piloting a partnership to help our participants gain credit through dual enrollment.
And that's true for our high school kids, that
That's-
they get dual enrollment or early college credit at CCB.
Yeah.
Great,
Or across the whole state college system.
great.
And we have a dedicated staff member who meets with every crew. Every crew member helps them build a resume, helps them practice interviewing. We host a career fair. But the biggest thing that I think we do is we provide a network. So lots of young adults come to us, but they don't have the connections that we have across this network. We can help them get a job in any sector. Simplifying, but we know everyone in Vermont. So that is an enormous amount of social capital that we can bring to young people looking for a job. So finally, our request here is if you all are including a memo to Senate appropriations, that you would include us, that you would rank us high in that memo, that you would recommend that we be funded at the amount that Kate has articulated.
Our memos are our bills.
Okay.
We operate a little differently than the House. The House gets the first bite of the apple. And we then have to function within, we usually get given a box, but until we get a box that we have to work in, our bills are our ask.
Okay.
For at least for the first part of the session. And then the second part, we negotiate a box and or bit more bills. And then they keep stripping everything off, but the ask is on the wall.
Okay. Fantastic.
Well, we hope.
Yeah, well, what we have here is a really unusual collaboration. I've been in the nonprofit sector for more than 3 decades. It's unusual for nonprofits to pull together. It's unusual for nonprofits to partner as effectively as we have with private sector, with state agencies. We measure data, we're securing additional funding. And like last year, we weren't included in the House budget, and the Senate, and all of its wisdom, said this is a program that's a high priority for the state. It's meeting state needs. It should continue investment.
Well, that's because we have field part ownership. So we're always, one of our children here, we're always looking.
On that note,
I think that's a good note. So I will note, we still need to hear from Ronnie and Tom.
We've been told 2 minutes each.
Yeah, if you can be short, then we're going to pivot to Gus and kind of continue with the picture of that lovely timber frame project, because we're going to shift to an update on our a big investment in construction workforce. That we're going to have an update with Sarah and Gus and Zach and whoever else that is here to do that. So why don't you could even take seats. Yeah, great. Tom, go for it.
2 minutes, Tom.
2 minutes.
2
Okay.
minutes.
So
Yeah, Sarah was gracious enough to say, okay, that would be fine.
Tom Wolextrack, again, I'm the executive director of Resource. Our purpose is to create opportunity, and we do that. Some of you may know that we have thrift stores, reuse stores. We keep a huge amount of items out of the landfill, but we also create opportunity for people, and we do that through the Serve, Learn, Earn collaborative. We have training programs of a range of different types, but the ones that are funded by Serve, Learn, Earn are what we call our workforce development programs, which the real purpose is the outcome that we're seeking is to get people placed into employment. And so we measure success based on do they graduate from the programs? Do they then get employed? What are their wage rates? So how their earnings increase from the time they start in the program to the year after. Almost all of our trainees are disadvantaged in one way or another. They have barriers to employment. Many are not in the workforce. And really the programs give them a chance to get placed, to learn a skill, to get an industry recognized credential. Often we outfit them with critical things like boots, a tool belt, and a basic set of tools. And without those things, they can't get a job and support the industry, which is clamoring for workers. So that's really where we're piecing together with this critical link. We don't finish the training. We just get it started enough that an employer feels comfortable placing hiring them. So Kate already talked a little bit about our Youth Build program, which is a 12, really a year-long program. It both gets young people their high school education, but it also gets them skill training in construction. So they build affordable housing. As Kate was saying, they do flood work. The intensive programs are just 6 week long. More adults, we have some youth who enroll in those, but mostly it's adults. And they're almost all coming in with barriers. We offer the training in weatherization, construction 101, we call it, HVAC, and we piloted heavy equipment, which is going to continue because it was really successful with great outcomes. And I might just say that in terms of the size of the impact, we had over 400 trainees enrolled thanks to SLE funding. We've awarded over 600 industry recognized certifications. Over 70% of our graduates of our trainees, not just graduates, are getting placed with an employer. The average starting wage for intensives is $20 an hour. The average starting wage for Youth Build is over $18 an hour. And I'll just give two examples. A hireability client who was long time disconnected from the workforce. He graduated from our pilot our heavy equipment training, has been hired by the Agency of Transportation. We had a weatherization graduate, spent his entire adult life in prison. He was hired by Addison Residential Construction Company in July, and he remains there happily employed, helping to reduce our climate emissions and helping Vermonters stay warmer and use less energy. So it's a win-win-win. The low-income families were benefiting through the service, the state through higher revenues because these folks are suddenly working. They're paying into the system instead of receiving benefits. And from the employers who are able to meet critical needs for their employers. So, it's really, I think, a key opportunity, and we appreciate the help. And I bet my 2 minutes is up.
It is, but you are really, I love this boots on the ground image of supplying the boots and the belts.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Well, let's pivot.
Well, and I'll give the 1 minute version. You've heard a lot of great things about Serve, Learn, and Earn. Vermont Works for Women really believes that there's underrepresentation of women in a lot of our biggest and fastest growing, highest wage careers. And there's untapped potential that we already have here in Vermont. So whether that's starting with our middle school career exploration programs or going right into our adult pre-apprenticeship programs. So that's in any of our construction trades, electrical, plumbing, weatherization, heat pump install. We've been able to utilize Serve, Learn, and Earn funding to leverage federal funding through the U.S. Department of Labor. Trailblazers will now add a new pre-apprenticeship program in partnership with Vermont Manufacturing Extension Collaborative, Global Foundries, Husky, and University of Vermont to add advanced manufacturing and semiconductor. It's going to be a 4-week pre-apprenticeship program where participants have free programming to go in, but can go immediately into entry-level jobs that then have apprenticeship programs built in with those employers.
And your key partnership with the Department of Corrections.
And
I have to, if you've got the Gold Star, which was lost in many ways when we moved the women out of Windsor.
Yeah.
But they had a fabulous program training women in all the construction trades.
Me too.
And we built affordable houses in Springfield, and it has still broken my heart that
We're doing it. Well, we're finally getting work release approved, which means we can now take women outside of the facility and actually take them into employers. So Rhino Foods will be one of our first employer partners there. But that's critical. We have a lot of untapped potential here in Vermont. Serve, Learn, and Earn funding has allowed us to move that forward. A loss of funding would really be backtracking in workforce development progress.
Right. Thank you all.
Thank you for all the extra time.
We appreciate it.
Please stay with us as we
Recognize
to our construction program that we are excited to have an update on. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And I'll be sitting with you on the workforce development board. So we'll have more conversations.
Oh, how exciting.
Yeah.
First meeting coming up.
It's coming up this next month. I know. Or this month. We're already there.
April.
Yeah. It's we appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Sorry to run over.
So great. Thank
Of
you.
your program.
See? Okay, so now we're going to do a very modest, not even really a pivot, just a segue into the program. And Tom will be back in a minute, but for our new members, Randy will remember we had put 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I think, 15 million into construction, career and technical education work. And we would like an update on where that is and how it's going. And the revolving loan fund that it sits in, and who wants to start, Sarah or Gus? Gus, you're going to start with the big picture?
I'll be very, very brief because you should hear from the people who are making the work happen. So we were approached by Chair.
So who are you?
For the record, Gus Seelig, Director for the Vermont Housing and Conservation Board, Chair Marcotte and Chair Ansel at that time, decided that it was really important to give people in our CTE programs more direct experience building houses, and asked us to administer a $15 million fund from the Ed Fund for the CTE centers. The CTE centers expressed great excitement about this, and we asked the Vermont Community Loan Fund to be the administrator of the program because you've had us doing a few other things with quite a bit of money, and this really required, we thought, hands-on that VCLF could help with. What we learned is that most of the career tech ed centers did not want to actually be borrowers of money. And that meant what they really wanted was partners who would help them create a structure in which the houses could be built. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Sarah, who can tell you what's happened so far and what's likely to happen over the next year, because this is a program that's required some building relationships, and it's off, we think, to a good start, and we'll grow over time. The goal here, I should just say, was not to build affordable housing, though a lot of that isn't going on. It was really about education and career development for students at our CTE centers. And again, these funds came from the Ed Fund. So at least at that time, the proponents were very, very focused on supporting their second programs themselves.
And really designed to grow our construction trade workforce, which is, as we all know, is in deficit at the moment. Thank you, Gus, so much. Sarah, welcome. It's good to have you. I think it's your first time in our committee this year.
In my new role, maybe. So
in your new role, it's wonderful to have you.
Sarah Phillips, I'm the director of community and I'm the director of affordable housing and community facilities lending at the Vermont Community Loan Fund. And I have some slides here to just walk you through. 1 second. Share. I can do it.
And while you're doing that, I'd just like to pivot because our colleague, Kath James, works closely with you.
Yeah.
She's come downstairs from chairing her committee to join us for this. So if you have anything to add, you want to sit there so you can see better.
Absolutely. Did not want to miss this.
Yeah, if you have anything to add on any of this, feel free.
All right. So because I don't assume that you know who the Vermont Community Loan Fund is, just really.
Why don't you give an update? We have 2 new members.
Yes.
Oh, have you met everybody here?
I don't know.
So why don't we actually, because we have a whole new crowd, why don't we introduce ourselves?
So I'm Tom Chittenden. I represent the southeast quadrants of Chittenden County with my seatmate, Senator Rob Hinsdale, who's not here right now.
She's doing lots of our work upstairs, introducing our bills upstairs. Allison Clarkson, Windsor County. This.
Randy Brock, Franklin County, and Northern Grand Isle County.
Good morning, Dave Weeks, Wellman County.
Excellent. Great. So the Vermont Community Loan Fund, we are a statewide, what's called Community Development Financial Institution. We're a nonprofit, mission-driven lender. We've been lending in Vermont for over 35 years. Most of our capital for lending actually comes from individuals and families and institutions in Vermont who want to reinvest their funds in Vermont. And so that's why we were formed, and that's why we're here. So we do all sorts of commercial lending, small and micro businesses, nonprofits, community organizations. Essentially, if you can't get the capital you otherwise need to do good work, you can come to us and we can help fill in the gap. We have a lot of loan products that focus in different sectors. Affordable housing is where our start is and still the bulk of our lending. We also do a lot of lending around community facilities, outdoor recreation. We have a small microloan program for BIPOC business owners. We do a bunch of lending in childcare facilities. So that's kind of the scope of our work, and also working lands. And we have about 55 million in assets. We did about 15 million in new lending last year. So we're based here in Montpelier, but we lend statewide. That's who we are. So
Like Gus said, he came to us. I wasn't even there yet. So,
You took over for Will, right?
No,
No.
I report to Will Boulanger
Will
is our
is there.
executive director. Yes, but I joined the loan fund in the fall of 2023, just after this revolving loan fund was launched. So this is a Career Tech Education Construction Rehabilitation Revolving Loan Fund. It's like the longest name ever.
That is a long one. I don't remember it having such.
Also called the CTE RLF, or also called the Revolving Loan Fund for this conversation. So established in 2022, as you mentioned, with 15 million. Initially capitalized it to BHCB, who partnered with us. We launched, it takes a little bit to build a new program. We launched in summer of 2023. And I think as Gus rightly pointed out, the crux of this program and what's required to get a loan from this program is that it's expanding learning opportunities for career tech education center students in the construction trades. That's in the statute. And when lots of people come to us to ask about this program, because it's 0% loan with no fees, we come back to, is it expanding learning opportunities for CTE students, right? So that's the crux of it. But it also, in the statute, it also names some other important things, that the project should be expanding affordable housing or addressing blighted properties in some way. The loans are up to $650,000. It's a loan, not a grant. So like being the lender we are, we underwrite every loan. We have to figure out how is it going to get paid back, has to have a legitimate plan for takeout financing.
Yes, question.
Yes, Thomas, sorry, my eyes are down making up.
Does the statute dictate 0% interest and no fees, or do you have flexibility there? If you, as long as you beat market rates, or if you were to charge 1 or 2 or 3% in order to make this more sustainable?
We could, I think the statute is flexible. I'll look at that because he was there in the beginning, but yes, I think we could. We do take a small administrative, so the 15 million was used to capitalize the fund, and we just charge administrative directly for it. But as a loan fund, obviously that is our business model. Is typically the interest that spread is what covers our operating costs. In this program, we just run a little differently. It doesn't really have a high overhead for us, but we could do that instead. Yeah.
And Sarah, when Gus mentioned that CTE centers have said they don't take loans, is that a policy of the AOE?
No, not at all.
Or
I think
those
it's just a preference.
CTE centers, because we have 4 independent CTE.
Yeah, you'll see that we actually have one CTE that did take out a loan. It's just, I think, a comfort and, in part, it as operating as part of a district that, when you take out a loan, you have to do that within certain parameters and certain permissions. And I think it's just a comfort with taking out a loan. I will say a 0% loan, no interest, like essentially a no cost loan. The crux of this program is that it provides really patient, low cost, no cost capital to make these projects happen.
Right.
And they're projects that are essentially done with student labor. And so they require really patient capital to happen because they don't happen on a normal construction timeline, right? So there's a value to having the cost of that. Because otherwise you increase those costs, you increase the cost of the overall project, right?
Sure.
So we do, because of the statute itself talks about partial forgivability on a loan based on paying for student wages or instructor costs that aren't already budgeted for or outside of the normal school year. And we also, due to the goal to build affordable housing, in order to do that, we allow for some partial forgivability of the loan to make the housing affordable. So the borrowers can be the Career Tech Education Center themselves or partner on a project. And I'm going to highlight some projects. You'll see what that looks like. And they can be used for any matter, of course, construction, rehabilitation, new construction, pre-development, land acquisition, kind of whatever's needed to make that project happen. Yeah.
Before you move on, curious, student wages, can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, like out of school wages. So like summer jobs, on a project. And I'll show in a couple of projects where that's laid out. Yeah.
That was an important piece of this.
Yeah. And it's a great one.
To be summer jobs for people who are in construction trade at their CTE centers and giving them a summer job to help.
Yeah, continuing on the project, providing, supported learning environment that's paid during the summertime. And as was pointed out, we won out when we managed to hire Kath outside of Representative James outside of the session to support the program, providing outreach, partnership development, and sort of statewide coordinating the program for us. Gus mentioned some lessons learned, like all construction projects and new programs that just took some time to build up. We launched really less than 10 years ago, or oh my gosh, 2 years ago. Woo, time flies. We have 6 loans and active projects right now, 6 different projects. We've had hundreds of conversations with career tech education centers and their partners, helping a little bit playing matchmaker sometimes around, oh, have you talked to so-and-so? It's really a one-of-a-kind program just nationally and in Vermont. Just want to highlight that.
And we were very proud of it in this committee because I believe, Gus, didn't we begin that in this committee?
I think actually, I know there were discussions, but Representative Marcotte.
Was it a Marcotte project? Oh,
Chair Marcotte and Chair Ansel.
This
pushed
was
this forward.
It's really cool. We're very proud of it.
You should be proud of it.
Because we had to sprinkle holy water.
I mean, this really came from the legislature, really, very much so. So
Just gonna take credit.
you should. I think you should.
Sarah, I have Sarah right behind. I have 2 Sarahs in my purview here.
Oh.
One is laughing and one is being very sure. Okay.
So just to be clear, like the learning that students do is both hands-on and observational. I want to give a little example and then I'm going to share a little bit about projects. So plumbing. So most construction projects are involved plumbing at some level, right? So these folks are licensed plumbers, but they might get to review the overall proposed plumbing, the design around it. They could discuss water supply and learn about that in a project. They can understand the bidding process, meet with the master plumber. They can do some on-site overview of the plumbing runs, think about waste and supply. Then they get to assist with the rough-in, the initial fixture and valve installations, and then the final finishing. So the projects and the fact that it is really patient, no cost capital means that these projects have the time for students to do that learning all the way through. So just going to highlight some projects. And then I just want to say also, you all invited, thank you for doing that, a couple of folks who can give more color to their specific projects. I'm going to make sure I leave enough time for the folks from Newport to talk more about their project. And then Zach is here to talk about the projects that Habitat's involved in. But this was our first project. This is really a renovation of a blighted property in Newport. When you drive into Newport, this is like one of the first properties you see. And the great thing about this project is not just redeveloping this home, but they're also doing a lot of site work and really have a phase 2 planned to add some additional homes on the same site. And so our loan supported the acquisition and the renovation of really that phase 1, and then also is supporting some of the site work and redevelopment for phase 2. Just to highlight, this site is walkable from the Career Tech Center, which has actually been really key. Not every project is going to be a good fit. Again, I'll let them talk more about this project. This is it. And this is in Randolph.
And sorry, is that Chris is going to be speaking to that?
I'm not sure. I can't.
Oh, no, it's Rick.
I think Rick
as well. Okay, great. Terrific.
Actually, yes. So Chris D'Amato's here from the school, and I'm here from Newport Downtown Development.
Right. I know. I saw you both had weighed in, so I mean that you're here. So we'll hear you in a bit. Thanks.
I won't steal your thunder. It is a fantastic project.
And what year was this? This was launched in 23?
23.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
yep. That was our first loan. This is a new build of a duplex home in Randolph. This is really a partnership between Central Vermont Habitat and the Randolph Tech Center. And I think this project is really a great example of how the revolving loan fund has been really a catalyst for some new partnerships for our career tech centers, right? Developing some community-based learning opportunities. We talk a lot about soft skills development in terms of work readiness, right? Like showing up and relationships and communication. And I think this kind of project where you're interacting with professionals on site and other volunteers on site under the auspices of a great organization that knows how to support a volunteer learning environment, I think is just a really great partnership. And so I'm not going to steal Zach's thunder on that one either. Oh, but it's just to say our loan right there.
This is a Zach project?
Yeah,
oh, yes, there is.
Habitat project. Yeah, yep. And it's hands-on observational learning for 35 students. And here you can see this was done last year doing some of the initial site work excavation. It's a construction loan for the project.
Which is great. glance
Yeah,
back.
so this is in Middlebury. And so again, I mentioned that like the location of the site is actually really key, right? And so the tech center doesn't have a project site this close. They're sort of like, and this is a great example where they actually are building this tiny home on site. And then you can see it's on a trailer, can be moved. And so this is a partnership with Homes First Vermont. They're a grassroots group. They want to build a series of tiny homes to help households at risk of homelessness or experiencing homelessness. They leveraged their fundraising dollars, and then they borrowed $60,000 for construction to support kind of, the cash flow during the project, the material, rather than having the CTE have to come up with some of those funds, right? So you can see a great picture. Sometimes I also love this interior picture of the tiny home. It's the folks from Homes First and Nick, he's the instructor, because sometimes we're like, tiny home, look at that home, it's beautiful. And this is really soup to nuts construction on site. So everything from like design and all the way through finishing students are involved in this project over a couple of different years.
Yeah, and the great thing about it being on site, which whoever is going to speak to this, is that you can use the other CTE students who are there in the program who are focused on plumbing, electrical, and other, in addition to kids who are being introduced to the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, so they do it over 2 years, right?
Yeah.
It's like the 101
Exactly.
Students are, just doing hand and power tool proficiency, some basics, and then, year 2 students are doing much more involved work. This project involves a lot around HVAC and weatherization. All the projects have to involve weatherization and energy efficiency at some level. So they were learning a lot about building energy code. And this is another Central Vermont Habitat project in Barre. And this is again, I'll let Zach talk, give it more color, but this property in Barre was actually identified by the city as a blighted property in need of redevelopment. It's in walkable distance to the CTE Center, so that was a win.
Cool.
And the city provided the pre-development loan to kind of get things going, and then the revolving loan fund was able to step in and provide the rest of the loan to kind of get it through. This is Brookmead Circle in Hartford, and this is an example of a CTE center that actually had a really robust construction trades program
It's in
already.
River Valley, both do. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're financing the 10th home by the Career Tech Center on Brookmead Circle. It's actually a cul-de-sac that they own, and then they've been building and selling off homes as they go. The CTE loan, revolving loan fund, actually was really important in this project because it let them maintain that learning program at a point in time when their budgets are really tight, right? They had been funding this through their budget, and they were like, oh, this is so great because things are really tight right now. And so this allowed them to kind of keep going and maintain the program. And the home will be priced at market, really affordable to a household between 100 and 120% AMI. And in comparison to the permanently affordable homes that like Habitat's doing, that will be deeply affordable. And so this is an example where the loan also allowed them to do something they hadn't done, which was expand their program to add a full-time summer work crew, which also helps them get the house built faster by employing students during the summertime. And that's in part because those wages are forgiven, right? So it doesn't really add to the resale cost of the home. It doesn't add to the cost of the home to hire the students over the summer. They can have that forgivable loan forgiven. And then this is our newest loan. This is in St. Albans, another blighted property, as you can see. And so,
David, this is right up your alley here.
Yeah, this is the CTE is really coming into this project at the ground level. The city actually bought this property itself, and then is partnering with Career Tech Center. They're going to demolish this property will be demolished and then be a rebuild as a single family home. And we, even just to get started because of the environmental assessment work, demolition contractor, abatement team involved in this, they came to us for really a pre-development loan to just help cover some of those costs. And the city is actually the borrower in this case. But the Career Tech Center is really driving the project itself, right? They're acting.
Well, the city has been the borrower on a couple of these.
No,
I thought I saw that Newport was the
Newport downtown, not the city though. The downtown.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
Sorry, I should have pointed those out, but I've got them on the slides here for you. So we fully expect they'll come back for another another loan to kind of finish out this project, but we got them started. It's, you know, they don't even have construction, you know, they just need to do this initial work. The cool part about this project is that students, again, will be in on the ground level. So they're gonna get to observe the process of environmental assessment, permitting. They're actually going to be preparing and presenting to city zoning and DRB around project overview and updates. And so it has this other layer in the project that is really exciting, and being about hazard mitigation, safe working conditions, and so on. So I'll stop there and answer questions, but
And pride in their community, just to watch this go from a really dumpy
oh my
eyesore
gosh.
to being something they're really proud of. But you're right, a whole arc of skills, soft
Yeah.
skills to hard skills. It's
Yeah.
really terrific.
Yeah, I think so. Really hands-on community-based learning in a way that you just can't get in other projects. And I just think this little revolving loan fund is just this little catalyst to help grow these programs at the Career Tech Education Centers. Again, provide really patient capital to make these projects happen, because there's an incentive then to involve students in community-based learning, where that might be seen as tricky otherwise. And I think it's just a win-win-win with increasing affordable housing.
Well, and
Yeah,
helping, I mean, we're
property.
addressing
Yeah.
blighted properties in this,
Yeah.
committee, and continuing our work and trying to figure out how to effectively deal with them, and that so that they're not a continuing burden in our communities.
Yeah.
And this is a very constructive way. Win-win-win.
Yeah, it's
Exactly. Okay, great. So I think we will pivot to first to Zach, unless you have a time commitment. Chris and Rick, do you have a time challenge?
No, ma'am.
Okay, great. Then we're gonna go to Zach. Thanks.
Thanks, Senator Clarkson, and thank you all for having me today.
Zach O'Brien. It is so
Zachariah.
good to see you.
Nice to see you all too. I think, thank you very much. So I'm Zachariah Watson. I'm the Executive Director for Central Vermont Habitat for Humanity. I live in Barrie. And this is, so Habitat for Humanity is an affordable housing nonprofit. We build homeownership for low-income Vermonters who are below 80% of the area median income. We serve every corner of Vermont. There's 7 active affiliates. Actually, you'd be interested to know that we just heard that Springfield is starting back up again, which is really exciting. So we're in Addison County, Chittenden, Lamoille. We are in Orleans County, Washington County, and Orange County. There's an Upper Valley affiliate, a Bennington affiliate, and a Rutland affiliate. And despite the rumors out there, Jimmy Carter was not our founder, but he was our most favorite volunteer. So, yeah.
I thought Jim Maslin was your most favorite.
Oh, right. Excuse me. Jim Maslin was our most favorite volunteer. Jim Maslin was the site supervisor for Upper Valley Habitat.
So one of our colleagues
Right.
in the house actually, I think he's retired from that now.
So yeah, we love this program. Really excited Senate and the legislature supported it. We have 2 loans right now through the Vermont Community Loan Foundation, with the Central Vermont Career Center and the Randolph Technical Career Center. So full disclosure, I also served in the House for a session. I served on House Commerce and Economic Development. And while we were there, we constantly talked about the major hindrance for economic development is the lack of housing. Immediately. So it was a no-brainer for me to get into housing after I left the legislature. The irony is there's also no people to build the houses. So I'm going to highlight the exceptional work of our students, but also talk a little bit about the need for this type of financing in the context of how expensive housing is right now. I'll point to, but I don't need any. So this is, we are currently building a duplex at 41 Central Street in Randolph. We are building top of the line houses. This is actually a panelized house in partnership with Bensonwood, which is a advanced manufacturing facility in New Hampshire. Basically, we give them the shell design, they put it into the system, and it comes out. So we are building. We hear a lot about the importance of modular and panelization. We're currently doing it. So we're teaching our students how to do that. So this is in Randolph. It's 2 duplexes, 4 bedrooms each, 2 baths, about 2,600 square feet. 2 partner home families. That's Mediatrice on the right there. She's an immigrant from Rwanda. These are 2 kids in the front there. We try to do a groundbreaking ceremony for each one of our projects. That's Rose and her 2 adopted grandchildren on the right there with the hard hats. So those are 2 partner families. Mediatrice lives in Montpelier in subsidized housing, and Rose lives in Randolph with her 2 grandchildren. Our homes are perpetually affordable, affordable forever through a shared equity covenant, which means it restricts the resale to make sure that the next buyer is affordable. I've broken down the numbers on the right here, but the in general, this project total at the end of everything, including donated materials and services, will cost about $940,000 for $2. The appraised value of each unit was $290,000, so $580,000, which means there's a gap between what we can build it for and what we can sell it for. We call that the value gap of $360,000. So you wonder why people aren't building houses today. We're a nonprofit. We don't take a profit, and we use mostly volunteer labor. So this is what we're seeing all across the board, and this has expanded incredibly over the last 5 years. The major growth, major issue with cost is subcontractors. Materials have gone up and down. We're expecting them to go up. Subcontractors are few and far between. They can basically ask for anything they want, and we have no choice but to pay it. Concrete, whatever it is, plumbing, electrical, most folks are pretty generous with us, but we need more subcontractors. And so that's why we're really excited about the Vermont Community Loan Fund's CTU revolving loan fund, because that's exactly what we're doing. Can you go to the next slide? So these are, you see a couple of pictures in here that you saw from Sarah's slide. So there's 24 or 35 students. There's 2 adult instructors. We've worked with both the construction trades as well as the electrical program. So we have, and this is also within walking distance to the trade school. So the students are able to walk right down to the site. Like I said, we're building modern housing with the most recent building techniques. I'm not a construction person, but I do talk to construction people. So in the bottom here, we're actually working with a really cool, innovative product coming from Vermont. It's called Glavel. It's a glass byproduct that actually has an insulator value, and it also provides drainage. So we decided, let's try this out. Actually, there's some cost savings involved with it. So we
this is the one with glass?
Yes, it's a byproduct of glass. So
the glass smushed up with asphalt and whatever.
Something along those lines. So I always tell people, if you want to support Glavel, drink more beer.
Because it's all beer bottles.
Exactly. So our students were actually able to work with this innovative product, and it's not just stones. This actually requires special techniques for how it's compacted to make sure that it's done correctly, because with modular or panelized constructions, there are very little tolerances in terms of your slab. So it has to be done correctly. So the students got to work with the Glavel product. So new Vermont products. What was exciting about this project as well is we got to hire a student through the cooperative program. His name is Jason Berner. He's the top student in the class. He's a sophomore. I think he's going to graduate early. So it was an incentive for the class to say, hey, if you do really well in your class, we'll hire you at $20 an hour, and you'll come and you'll be a carpenter assistant on our site. So Jason worked the first semester with his school. We hired him through the summer. We loved him. We do love him. And we're continuing to work with him right now. Jason is awesome. He's a really skilled and talented person. We would hire him immediately because of the skills we're teaching him. But in addition to learning important construction skills, we're also teaching them how to work with an actual employer. So where Jason's learning all about vacation and sick pay, and we are learning about what happens when you give high school students vacation and sick pay. So with the learning opportunity for both of us, but Jason's been fantastic. And like I said, we would hire him immediately if we had an opening, and we do.
And can you just remind us what a co-op student is?
It's basically he's part of the technical program, but he's able to get credit by being an employee in with.
So it's like, right.
Yeah,
paid internships while you're there.
Paid internship, exactly. But in addition to that, Jason right now is at the Built Embedded by Design conference, but we also get to provide some real learning opportunities for the students. So we're really excited about this project, and it's about to wrap up in the next couple of months.
Great. Well, invite us to the ribbon cutting. We're good at that.
Absolutely. Well, I've got some more exciting stuff for you. So this is our other project. It's 22 Hill Street. It's in Barrie. As we said, it was a blighted property that had been abandoned. We knocked it down, and we're building a high performance energy.
Who owned it?
The city of Barrie did. acquired it through tax sale and then sold it to us for $1 and abated the taxes. So we're going to put it back on the tax roll.
Pretty exciting.
So this project is a single for a single person. This is Abby Duncan. She's actually a teacher here in the Barry School District, U32 district, excuse me. She was living in an uninsulated barn without running water and heat when she applied for our program, just to give you a sense of the need and who we're partnering with. But she's a teacher and she works at the school right next to where we're building this house, which is really exciting for her and her students. So again, perpetually affordable. The total construction and development cost is estimated about $462,000. That's probably $260,000 more than what it was 5 years ago. So there's that, again, that value gap of $198,000. One thing I would just want to say is when we build our projects, we expect to capture everything we invest in them, but we don't get that money until the time of closing.
Right.
So the need for financing is essential.
Right.
And we don't go after financing if has an interest rate, because our cost is so high already. It wouldn't make sense for us to do it. So if we can do it and all that really means is we slow down our projects and fundraise. Having financing available allows for us to build houses quicker. The students that we're working with, we're actually initially, the reporting's only been done for the first semester, but we're working with construction trades, plumbing and electrical. So their electrical instructors actually are certified electrician on the site. And so he's providing the roughing and finish electrical with the student to really add added value to us as well. But as I said, all of our homes are panelized. So this house was actually built on the State House lawn in our first annual Dome to Home event this last September. So you can see we had about 60 volunteers. All of those wall sections were cut up by our construction trade students right in the first 2 weeks of school. They built everything. And then they went on and they actually, if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide.
Before you go there, may I ask a question?
Yes.
Going back to the pricing.
Yes.
Can we go back to the previous slide.
This one?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. The sale price versus the C&D, that's the price that it cost you to do it, right? Including the land. Was that cost the same cost that would be incurred, for example, if a commercial builder were to do it, or was that an increased cost because of the way that you did it?
So if a commercial builder were to do this, there would be labor involved, and it possibly would be done quicker, but arguably, yes. But more than likely, if a private developer were to do this, it would be a lot more expensive. And
that is the question, though, in terms of the sales price, is that the price that you would expect to get if it were on the market to sell?
Yes, so sales price is what it's appraised at on the fair market. The affordable sales price, that blue up there, that's what we've determined
based on the income of
our homeowner. And so we
And the top
subsidize
limit,
it.
we want people contributing to.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've seen the gaps before and other numbers, but this seems like a huge gap between what it cost you to build it in a normal course of business and what somebody, at least at appraised value, would be buying it for.
My understanding is these are not, we are building at $275 a square foot. Fair market developers are somewhere between $500 and $600 a square foot.
This is less than what Maura showed us in terms of the value gap.
So it is substantial.
But it's still a substantial value gap.
Alarming.
That's really what I'm getting at in terms of
huge.
It's an alarming number. And we benefited from missing middle. I have a stack of 6 funding sources. We get from New York Bank, Boston. We have Boston,
Missing middle.
Missing middle. We get tax credits. DHCD helps us. We get so much money to make this work. Without missing middle, it's going to be a challenge. But
it's just been pulled on the wall. It's not gone. We're negotiating.
I don't know anything about it, to be honest with you. But yes, Senator, your comment is well taken.
Well, the thing that I'm also just looking at is, although you're doing great things in helping to build a workforce and so on, and in dealing with these particular individual houses, it's such a small portion of what Vermont needs right now.
It's a small portion, but I'm happy to spend more time to talk about our mission. But this is the hardest. This is the hardest group demographic to reach, and it requires a substantial amount more money, but the payoffs are significant because this is perpetually affordable. So while it benefits Abby right now, Abby will sell it to somebody else who will increase their appreciated value, taking advantage of the growth in the housing market, which you don't do in the rental. And so Abby will sell it to somebody who will then be able to get it affordably, build their appreciated value, sell it for $100,000, buy a fair market house. It's forever and ever. So the initial investments are high, but the long-term benefits not only support our community, economic development. There's just really the benefits are just a lot. They're huge. But yes, it's a lot of money for the first house, and it's a lot of work for one house from somebody that does all the fundraising and managing of the volunteers
And finding the crews.
and finding the crew and finding the homeowners. I agree.
So we need to keep moving.
Yep. So anyways, there they are raising the wall sections on site. This is the house.
These are the panelized sections.
These are the panelized sections. And just wanted to, they're learning all hands-on skilled. All of our students are following OSHA regulations. They're looking at drawings and being able to implement the drawings. They're figuring out that tools have real lasting impact. So in a shop, it's just different from a shop circumstance. So one of the examples my site supervisor gave me is the electrical crew came in and cut a hole in the vapor barrier so they could put an electric wire through it. And he said, well, actually, you can't put any holes in the vapor barrier because then you fail the blower door test, and then we don't get efficiency or high performance, which is substantial money as well. So they learned that even a small hole makes a difference. So these are, they're real learning opportunities. The students are enjoying it. We're enjoying it. And that gentleman on the far left, I got to work with them to put these pre-cut sections into the back of our reefer truck to bring them to the State House lawn. And he was saying, it's so cool. I drive by that house every day. I'm going to be able to say that I built that house. And
yeah, no, that's the pride. Yeah.
So that's the gist. We really appreciate the program. We appreciate VHCB that they've advocated for this program, and that VCLF is managing it. It's a fantastic program and makes our work possible. Sorry for going so long.
No, this is terrific. You're illustrating.
Oh, and I do have one more slide, but it's not helpful because I'm a nonprofit.
I know, it's so funny.
Yeah.
It's very
I've
good.
been using it for years.
Okay, that was terrific. And let's then pivot to Rick and Chris. I assume you're going to present together.
Yeah, Rick, why don't you start with the background of how we got here, and I'll talk about what we're actually doing right now.
That sounds great. Hi, everybody. I'm Rick Ufford Chase. I'm the executive director of Newport Downtown Development, which is our nonprofit tasked with revitalization for downtown Newport, part of the designated downtown program. And I'll just give a very brief overview of how we got involved in this project. Gwen Bailey Rowe, who is the director of the North Country Career Center.
We have her testimony right here.
Good. So she's been very complete. I've read that testimony and I will not try and repeat all of it, but I'll just say that Gwen and I had been kind of looking for the possibility that we might partner together on something. And she came to me and said, I think we've got this perfect opportunity through the program that the Vermont legislature has just passed. I just need a partner to take on the logistics of purchasing the land and managing the finances in it. If I had that, we could make this roll. And it was kind of a perfect time. Newport Downtown Development was really beginning to think in an expansive way. I had a board that was willing to take some risk. And so we jumped in, and negotiating this with the Vermont Community Loan Fund was kind of a trip because we were the first ones out of the box. And so my board president is a commercial lender with Community National Bank. And it was kind of making her nuts because, she's all about how these things are supposed to work. And our colleagues at Vermont Community Loan Fund kept saying, well, I don't know. What do you think that term should be? And so we made it up literally as we went along together, and it's worked beautifully. And I'll just say that the folks at VCLF have been really fabulous partners for us throughout this process. And we're really grateful to Sarah and Kath and to Will and to, the folks who have really made it happen on their end. So our only role was to figure out how to make an offer, purchase the property, and then manage the finances of it, which has been relatively minimal. I'll say that one key thing that has really made this work is something that we actually provided, which is we have a retired design builder in our town named David Kerr.
Is that the chap, is that the chap in the photograph with the red hard hat?
That guy in the red hat.
Oh, no, that would have been the governor. Yes.
That's, yeah.
That's not, oh, it's, it looks like, it's
I think
Peter.
you know him.
It was not the governor when we did this.
Yep.
Bill Scott.
No, that's Phil Scott.
Is that Phil with the glasses? Okay, great. That's
red
what
hard hat.
Unless you're looking at a different picture. So I'm not sure what the picture is you're looking at there, but
Okay. doesn't
anyway,
matter. Going-
David is a retired design builder who said when I first approached him to ask for help on various projects, he said, I don't want to be on any committee, but I'm willing to do all kinds of stuff if it's activity. And so he really, in many ways, been the lead on this project. He's the one who's led us through the process. We had to go to the state to work with them to get a variance for a wetlands permit that we needed in order to use both halves of the property that we purchased. And he's really led the bid process to try and redesign the property and move and get the dirt moved so that we can build a retaining wall, so that we can build 2 houses and not 1. So really, you know, the match has worked in all directions with Dave's volunteer help and I'll let Chris talk about the engagement of the students themselves and our work and our board kind of backing everything up, backstopping it all. It's just worked really beautifully. And I'll let you speak to the specifics, Chris.
So just to reiterate, Rick, Dave, was to have a design builder volunteering their time really was sort of the key shepherd ingredient that needed to shepherd and, you know, bring all the pieces and oversee it.
That's right, Senator. You know, in fact, from the beginning, that was true. Because, you know, even the simple requirements that VCLF was putting in front of us would have been beyond me and our team, because we obviously needed to create a project budget for what we thought this thing would work like. And because Dave had done this for years, we were able to take tools that he already had in existence and then try and figure out what the implications of using student labor were. And that's how we came up with our budget. I'll just say we initially asked for $501,000. That's what was approved for this project. We've been in conversation lately, Sarah alluded to this, because we're looking now at reconfiguring the property pretty significantly, which will allow us to do a second project to build a duplex on the same property. So we expect that this partnership could endure for 5 to 7 years just on this property alone, building out 3 new housing units in the process.
Oh, that's terrific. Well, already the first project is going to be 2 units, didn't you say?
No, I think what we'll end up doing, the house, we've talked about whether we might we're going to pick the house up and set it on a new foundation. And there's some possibility that we could create kind of an ADU in the basement, but really it will be a single family home. And then beside it, we intend to build new construction with a duplex.
Right. Thanks.
Chris, it's all yours.
Sure. And, you know, there's a few things that there's wisdom in this legislature that
Chris, just introduce yourself for the record.
Yes, Chris D'Amato. My name is Chris D'Amato. I'm the assistant director of North Country Career Center. My primary role is workforce development for adults in our community, and I help out with the high school, particularly when the director is out of the building. So the wisdom of this legislature, really, there's a couple things about it that really help us. It allows not only high school students to work on it, but adult students. If you don't know, all of the CTE centers in Vermont are required to offer classes to adults as well as the high school students. And we have partnered with Vermont Works for Women this summer, where their Trailblazers program operated out of a Newport for a little bit, and some of them worked on this project as well, and they count as adult students in our books. Another thing that is wise about this bill is that it allows for not only rehabilitation but new construction. And you saw the Randolph project and the Barry projects are brand new. Vermont has a lot of houses that that need rehabilitation, and that's a different set of skills. It's a lot harder. It's a lot slower, and you got to be able to pivot when you are remodeling a house. You never know what's behind the walls. I remember when
There's lots of experiences with that, just on a personal level.
Yeah.
But my kids, we all bought.
yeah, I remember pulling a wall out with my dad, and there's a cat, a fossilized cat in the wall. I was like, oh, you just never know what you're gonna find.
That's
Yeah.
true. We discovered all the newspapers that were embedded in the wall from the date the edition was put on in 1913.
Yeah, those are
That was sort of fun.
some of those are traditional things to do to mark the time, and some of them are just practical and filling up for
Yes.
installation. Our project in Newport has students working right alongside the contractors, and that really gives our students potential exposure to possible employers, and it's like a little job interview. They're in a couple of years, these students will be knocking on these people's doors looking for work, and they'll remember the project that they worked on together. This is not fast. This is not meant to be fast. In education, we don't focus on production. We focus on education, and that's why we talk about, this is a 7-year project. We have wonderful rules in Vermont that, we've had to go through the whole process. We have a little bit of a wetland area in the corner of the lot that really gave us a left-hand turn that we didn't anticipate, because it doesn't look like a wetland, but it is, but by law it does, and we had to go through that. What we're doing is, yes, we are fixing blighted properties, and this corner is going to be a touchstone corner when it's done. The intersection is going to change. There might be a turning lane at a corner that really could use one. But aside from all that, we're investing in our students who will soon become our neighbors, and those neighbors are going to be employable with skills that are needed throughout the state. Right now we have coming out of winter and going into the spring, we have there's going to be 14 juniors or first-year students, and then about 14 second-year students working on that property. Over the course of last summer, we had 4 students who were looking for summer jobs that they worked 3 days a week. It was a pretty easy summer schedule, 9 to 2, and our teacher, Jeremy Bro, also signed on for a contract for the summertime to work with the students to keep the education and the production going. As we get close to spring, we have a bid out, and I believe they came back in. Is that right, Rick? The bids are back for the groundwork, and at some point in the spring, that hillside is going to be pushed into and leveled out onto the second lot, and it's going to be it'll be an exciting time to be on that property. The students in the past few years, COVID shut a lot of live work down, but it was hard to come by. Live work in this area was hard to come by, and students were, for about 5 years, students were making sheds at our land lab, and selling the sheds, and although the basic construction is the same, the satisfaction and the learning is much on a grander scale when you're doing a full house. And now that we're very prominent, this is a very prominent corner in town, and our students, we stress, do not get off the bus without your hard hat and safety glasses every day. And when I walk on to property, I'm yelling, "I'm coming up, make sure your safety glasses are on." Just making sure that everybody's is always, we're visible, and we have to be that much more aware of the importance of safety.
Great. Thank you. We are so grateful to you. And in the 1 minute we have left, Chris, was there something else you wanted to add?
No, that's fine.
Okay, great. Before we have one sort of minute, Kath, you're in the building with us. Is there anything else you'd want to add as the person who's running this program?
Yes. That there's nothing more rewarding as a legislator to see something you pass,
Yeah.
move out into the field and work.
Yeah.
So it's just,
Very
it's a real bright spot. The projects are working, it's achieving the goals that we set in statute for it. The first thing I did when I started work was go back and read the statute. And it's working exactly as we intended.
Which is very exciting.
Yeah.
That is so gratifying. You're right. It's great. I'm so glad we have you working on it.
Didn't want to miss the testimony.
Yeah. Guys, thank you all. This was really terrific and exciting to see. We just needed an update on something we invested in 3 years ago. And really, anecdotally, I know it's up and going, but it's really exciting to see it being fleshed out. And I think we would love to be invited to anything that's close by and come and see it in action. I would be really great. So maybe we can do that and arrange that. Rick and Chris,
Open invitation from Newport. Anytime you want to come, we'll feed you lunch and give you
I
a
just
tour.
want to see that big hole in the center of town filled.
I got plans for that too. We're working on it.
Yeah, that might take the students 100 years. Thank you so much. This was just terrific.